I'd say it's good to see you, but I can only see the ones that's in the Zoom room. But it's good to have you join us tonight. Those of you that are listening via Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much. I'll get some stats on those just in a minute. Doesn't have that window pulled up, but hold on just a second because I didn't hit the button over there. Maybe that's why they're not coming up. Okay, there we go. So good to have you listening now via Power Faith Radio. And those of you listening by either one of our two Facebook pages, A Simple Walk or Benign Walk Fellowship, we thank you so much for watching the live or maybe the recording. And we ask you to be gentle on us and ask questions. Give us some thumbs up. And on A Simple Walk, you can share those videos with all your social media platform. It's sponsored tonight by Outreach Noah. You can find us at a couple different places. Outreach Noah at outreachnoah.com. That's our webpage. Send us an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Go on over to the YouTube channel, Outreach Noah. Will come up. Subscribe to that channel. Hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. I think I get them in different every time.
I guess as long as you get them in.
As long as I get them in. All right. It's good to have everybody with us in the Zoom room, and we're going to let, I started to call you Thomas, Terry. I'm getting you all mixed up here. So we're going to let Terry introduce everybody that's inside the Zoom room.
All right. Greetings, everyone. We got, looks like Christy coming on in. Of course, in the Zoom room, we have Scotty and Ronald, Amwella. Bob and Veronica is still in Louisiana, headed to Texas. And we have Will and Wendell, Warwick, and Chrissy. Glad to see you tonight, Chrissy.
Hey, Chrissy.
And of course, Annie, the one that keeps Scotty in line.
Yeah.
If that's possible. Greetings, everyone. And like we always say, if you want to come in and join us in the Zoom room, you're welcome to come in. If you're in either one of the Facebook pages, there is a link there in tonight's posting from Scotty that has a Zoom room link. You're welcome to come in. You don't have to have the camera on, but you're welcome to come and join in with the live group here and enjoy being in with the Zoom group. It's been a week, Scotty.
It has been a week, and
we got our move-in date.
Great.
We are official in business at the new location March 4th. Next weekend is the big move date. So into our new Lexus store. It's been an interesting period the last couple of weeks as it was, the construction part was coming to an end and trying to get him going in business is coming together at the same time. So I told my supervisor today, I said, if we don't get moved over there, I'm going to bring me a flask to work. I said, well, I know we're moving from a migraine to a headache, but I'm looking forward to the headache.
Oh, goodness.
And everything. But now that you've mentioned Thomas, we was talking about Thomas here a little bit before we came on tonight. We've missed Thomas for a while. He's been in where he's been living at. He's not been able to have any internet. So is he going to be able to join us here and probably, when he gets settled in his new place?
Yes, hopefully within the next 30 days, we'll all see Thomas's smiling face.
That'll work. And listen to him talk about all the food that he can cook and eat.
So I know some of the people probably won't like this that's going to be hearing this, so I'll clean it up a little bit. But one day Thomas sent me pictures of something he had slayed to eat, and so I thought, what in the world is that? And so I saw him cleaning it and preparing it, and I thought, what is that? Next thing I knew, I saw the frying pan, and I knew right then, oh, okay, he's making him a meal. So it was a groundhog. So anyway, he had some in the freezer and everything. So he won't get to do it when he's moving. He's in the city, going to be in the city.
That'll work. All right, Scotty, you about ready?
I am ready. I am ready for our Sadaka time. We've had a couple of discussions with some people today that actually this week and the weekend that are appreciating. They're really feeling the Sadaka time, and they're thanking our group for doing this. And somebody asked me what is the necessity of that? And I said, well, the necessity is, or the reality is, we are taking something as small as $1, and we are putting that into a charity box, a tzedakah box, and we are giving that to a charity. And when this dollar comes from your hand into ours, and we put it in our tzedakah box. Oh, I dropped that one. We put it in our tzedakah box, and then we take this tzedakah, this charity, and we find a charity that is meaningful, something that really, it's not out for an agenda. It's a very needful thing. We have helped quite a few people in the past, and but there are people that are feeling this. They're getting blessed from this. So one of these days, again, Terry will go into it a little bit more deeper, but we appreciate everybody who participates in our tzedakah time and sends names in. And again, you do not have to send any charitable contributions in if you don't want to. That's fine. Just send names in. We'll put them on our paper, and we'll try to remember them every Wednesday night. So here we go. We always, Terry and I, want to remember our main teacher, his Pesach and Shira Sherbo. They live in Sfat, Israel. We're remembering them tonight. And also we're remembering Clifford and Harleen Houle. We're remembering William Lyons tonight. He's on our tzedakah list. Also, we still have Wendy Shepard on our tzedakah list. Chrissy, while you're here, have you heard any latest from Wendy?
No, I haven't. But the last I heard, she was feeling improved and had begun driving her car again. So, yeah. So, no news is good news.
Yes. Baruch Hashem. We're going to continue to give tzedakah for her. And then also we have tzedakah tonight for Nadine Akins and for Marguerite Waite. Marguerite Waite. We're giving tzedakah for her tonight. Also, Amuela. Somebody always sends in $1 with your name on it. And so this is your dollar, Amuela, going into the charity box. And then they also include Veronica Port. Veronica, this is your dollar going into the charity box. And they also include Thomas Schaus in that. And we're looking forward that when Thomas gets moved into his new place here pretty soon, he'll have internet and he'll be joining us again in our Zoom room. Also, Ronald Digman. Ronald, tell us about your, I know I asked you as soon as we come in tonight, but tell us about your upcoming doctor's appointment.
Well, I had the appointment the other day, 11 in the morning, and we're on the waiting list now, definitely for the operation. Not going to be necessarily quick, but should be within the next 6 months. So
okay.
To that, and then we can sort out. Even the doctor agreed with my assumption that we don't know about the extreme pain issue until the other's done, to see if it's related or independent and another issue to deal with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to continue to have on our tzedakah list you, Ronald, and then also Larry and Rita Beck. We're having them on our tzedakah list. And then also we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah. I'm not going to bring up the snow shovel event. All I'm going to say is we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah for Mary Parsons. And how are you and Mary doing, Wendell? How's everything going?
Actually going very nicely, and the weather is been in the 40s.
Okay. Okay.
Forget about the snow.
Okay, good deal. So in our blessed memory tonight, we have gentlemen. Let me get this up here. John Bledsoe. So John Bledsoe, I want to tell you about him. He left this walk of life last Sunday, and I didn't find out till yesterday. But John Bledsoe, about 7 months ago, requested to borrow from me a Hamish. And he had watched our YouTube channel a couple times, and he's been sick for some time, but he requested a Hamish. And his wife, her name is Barbara, she started reading to him the commentary and everything that was on a page that they could read and get grasp, started reading that. And so I'm supposed to get a note from him that he wrote the morning, and then he passed that afternoon. I'm supposed to get a note from him this week, and so hopefully I'll be reading that note that he wrote. And he wanted to know. He said, "Is it okay?" His wife said, "Is it okay if you read it to the group that is always in the on the YouTube channel?" And I said, "Yes, get it to me, and we will read that." So John Bledsoe is in our blessed memory Sadaka tonight.
Sorry.
Yes.
Would you explain what a Hamish is for those that don't know what that word means?
Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, Hamish just means 5. Now, you that know more, you can help me on that. And it's the Torah. It's the 5 books of Moses. It's the books that contain all the law, and it's the Torah. And there you go, Terry. Mention a little bit about the Hamish there, Terry.
This particular one is published by ArtScroll, and like Scotty said, it's Hamish. Comes from the Hebrew letter 5, which means the 5, like I said, the 5 books of Torah. And like what you see behind me, I have multiple. Even Hamish, this is a 1 volume, but like I have Rabbi Hirsch's is a 5 volume, Rabbi Soloveitchik's is a 5 volume. I got the Rambam's, which is like a 6 or 7 volume. Where it goes through and it has the Torah and it has the teachings on exactly what it means according to the Hebrew Jewish tradition. What I like about the Hirsch in that particular one is he breaks down a lot of the Hebrew and gets into actually the different words. But that's just what the Hamish is. It's the Torah. It's the word that the Creator gave Moses at Mount Sinai. And then it contains also the stories along with the creation in Israel that all have meanings for everybody's life.
And if I could just add that for those that don't know, it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy.
Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes. Maybe soon, of course, we're going to pray right now, but maybe soon, Terry, we may also do a little session on just explain a little deeper on what is the Hamish and all those natures. So,
maybe we can do that during our Q&A over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Veronica, for help asking us to clarify that. Thank you so much. Would you help us pray tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. Our King, do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, I'm going to put you. Well, how do you want to start this? You want me to just jump right in?
You just start it, and I mean, you're running the engine room. We'll just let you start it.
I do have a follow-up question, as we was talking about the Creator being one, from our Q&A last week, and I'm going to challenge everybody that if you get an opportunity, please go over to our Q&A from last week. And there was a great teaching, great meeting on God is one. So it was basically a clarification, and we don't have to go into depth of the clarification, but I know you'll know how to word this. So God is one. He did not need any help on the creation except the things that he partnered with. Is that a true statement?
That's actually a pretty good statement. He did he did have a little bit of a partnership in a part of the creation, which is actually, we may get into a little bit of that tonight.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll just leave that there. The partnership was not with other.
No, he
or
yeah,
gods.
no, he is one and he is alone, and it is a oneness that's beyond the finite mind to be able to comprehend that kind of oneness. Because even in our realm, in the created realm, like I was sharing with last night, one of the great Torah scholars, he even said, he said everything is divisible. It can be subdivided in the creation. Even the number one can be broken down into parts. And I kind of like some, there's no decimal points in the oneness of God. It's a oneness that's beyond our creation. And so it's like I said, it can kind of be a little difficult to us to understand that part, because we're used to everything in this creation can be subdivided, down. You can keep going down, and down and down and keep subdividing. And so there's not really almost like a true oneness that's in his realm.
Yeah. So, okay. So in that, are there places where it mentions the creator in a plurality sense? And what is that talking about? If God is one, what are the places where it's mentioning God as a plurality, so to speak?
That's a good question, because there appears to be areas where it appears that there is a plurality of God, that there is a multiplicity of him.
Now, is that in a name or a?
It's in a name, and it's also in some of the passages. And we're going to cover the two areas. We're going to cover, Hashem willing, one of the names where that a lot of misconception is at, and one of the passages where there's a lot of misconception at. And this is, I'm not saying this to like slight anyone, but this, even in the writings from the Torah sages and the scholars, we have to understand that Hebrew, for the majority of us here, if not all of us, here, Hebrew is a foreign language. It's not one that we was born with. And then it got translated. Of course, it's translated in all kinds of languages, but the language that we mostly speak here is English. So I'm going to speak, on that side of the matter. The English is really a horrible language to translate the Torah in. It's just once you start learning some of the Hebrew, and then you start thinking about different words that's used in English to represent Hebrew words, and you learn what they are and the concepts of what they are, you kind of shake your head and goes, yeah, that might fit. Some English words fits like a sock on a rooster. It's Hebrew.
I want to put that sock
I
on.
got Chrissy good, going good there. But anyhow, Hebrew is a foreign language to the majority of us. Was myself. It's still a lot to learn. I've not learned it, 100%. I'm not fluent in it, but my first rabbi, he spent, a year teaching me to read the Hebrew and things like that. But it's a foreign language, and we will take ideas that we can comprehend in our language, and we apply it to the Hebrew. And I'm going to say this, that's actually with any language. It could be Spanish, it could be French, it could be any language. If you're going from English, and I'm speaking from the English side of things, to those languages, there are things in that language that really just doesn't cross over. So we use the best that we have. And there's grammatical tenses, the way the sentences are written and understood can be different than the way the English language is. And that's part of what it is also with the Hebrew. And so I'm going to go through, I've got a book here that has some letters that was written to Rabbi Tovia Singer on various subjects. Sorry. And this was one of them, and it was similar. Various. I'm getting a feedback.
Sorry, Terry, that was me. I was trying to get the other channels up, and I forgot to mute the Zoom room. So, okay.
Okay. I'm like, hey, I'm talking to myself. I only do that at work. No, I'm just kidding. All right. This is a letter that was written. I'm not going to read the whole letter because the letter itself and parts of it doesn't pertain to what we're discussing tonight. But it's a letter from a gentleman that asked the question based on the assumption that is made by many people. And he asked a basic question: why is God's name plural in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1? And so I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to read the whole letter, but he does talk about, in this letter to this gentleman. And he says, this particular question was asked from a person that was asked this question themselves from another person. And so Rabbi Singer just writes like what I just tried to explain right here. He says, to this gentleman, he says, yet armed with little knowledge of the Hebrew language, many argue that the name of God, as appears in the first verse of the Hebrew scriptures, proves that there is a distinct multiple persons in a Godhead. And like I said, it's little knowledge of the Hebrew. And that's where, and I'll be honest with you, the arguments that was brought forth, I had made them before I had learned the Hebrew and learned a little bit about the Hebrew grammar itself. Now, I'm not the best. I didn't do very well even in English. I grew up in a family that wasn't educated thinking, and when I started getting things, my dad said, you won't be needing that when you're laying underneath the car with the transmission grease running in your ear. Lo and behold, did he know that I grew up older in life. I love to read, I love to study, and so I'm having to go back myself and even learn, I'm going to say, English in like aspects of sentence buildings and things like that, because I'm getting to where I like to learn I'm wanting to learn to write more. And so being able to develop sentences and things like that. And that helps when you're wanting to study and become a writer and be more proper in your deliverance of our language. And so the same thing is with Hebrew. Rabbi Singer goes on, he says, there is an enormous difficulty. Let me just go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 before we get started here. Let's just read that. Of course, that's most people can quote the verse. I want to read it in the Hebrew and also the English. In Genesis chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God's creating the heavens and the earth. That's in verse 1. In the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth. In the Hebrew, that is Bereshit bara El-ohim es hashamayim ba'es haaretz. And where they see the plurality of the word that's translated as God here is the word El-ohim. Bereshit bara El-ohim. this is going to be significant as we go into understanding that what appears to be a plural word is actually used in a singularity use. It's single and not plural. And we're going to look at that. And we're going to look at when it is in a, there are times when the word El-ohim is singular, and there's times when it is plural. In this situation, it is singular, and we're going to get into that. So Rabbi Singer says, there is an enormous difficulty with the interpretation that the name El-ohim signifies a sort of plurality in a Godhead. For if El-ohim implies a plurality of persons, and we're talking about the name, or this word, we're talking about the word, I'm going to say name, but this word El-ohim. If it implies plurality of persons, how can it be explained that the identical word El-ohim in the Tanakh, or the Hebrew scriptures, refers to Moses as well? I'm going to use my Hirsch Chumash here to read this passage. In Exodus chapter 7 and verse 1. Sorry I didn't get you all these passages, Amuela. Some of this stuff kind of came late in my studies, and I thought I forgot to message you all these. But Exodus chapter 7 and verse 1, where it says, thereupon God said to Moshe, lo, I have appointed you as a God for Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. And so we see here, it says, so I have made you a God. Does El-ohim, as many suggest, that there is a plurality? It says, yeah, does El-ohim suggest that there is a plurality of a person of Moses? The Creator just called Moses El-ohim. And if it's plural, is Moses a plurality of himself? Is there more than one? See, in the Hebrew, let me see here, where it's talking about Moses, that he has been made an Elohim, he's made a God to them. Is there more than one Moses in this situation if it's plural? Rabbi Singer says the notion that Moses, who is called El-ohim in the Torah, possessed more than one person. Actually, the rabbi says it's ridiculous. It's when you're thinking about, the nature of man, there's not more than you are yourself. So there's not more than one, even though God called him El-ohim. And he called him a God like that on purpose because of what was going on at the time with Moses and the Pharaoh there just prior to the Exodus. He says, Rabbi Singer says, moreover, if the name of God is to signify a plurality in a Godhead, why wasn't the name, and this is another name, the name is called Jehovah, which once you understand it, it's not even a correct use of the formation of the letters of the name of God. But Rabbi Singer's using a name that a lot of people are familiar with. But he says, if the name of God is to signify a plurality in a Godhead, then why wasn't the name Jehovah, which is far more the most frequently used name of God, also written in the plural? Now he breaks down, and now he's going to break down the word Elohim. The word Elohim possesses a plural intensive syntax and is singular in meaning. Let me say that again. The word Elohim possesses a plural intensive syntax and is singular in meaning. In Hebrew, the Yud Mam, which is pronounced Eem, mainly indicates a masculine plural. It's a masculine plural. However, with Elohim, the construction is grammatically singular. This is important. It's grammatically singular. If we go back to Genesis chapter 1, Scotty, I know I asked you tonight, are you able to pull up Genesis chapter 1 there on our Hebrew scriptures where it's got the Hebrew English? For those that I want to see this later.
Now I can pull it up on the Chabad.
Yeah, that's what I figured you would.
Okay, Genesis chapter 1.
Verse 1.
And you want me to share that?
Yes.
Let's see.
Rabbi Singer says, again, however, with Elohim, the construct is grammatically singular. It governs a singular verb or an adjective when referring to the God of Israel. Can you pull up the Hebrew? Okay. On, I guess you'd say, our right side of the page, the first line. Yeah. Can you highlight the first three words? Bereshit. No. Just the second and the third right there. Bara Elohim. Yeah, right there. Bara Elohim. Okay. As you can see, the last letters of the word Elohim, if you're reading right to left, it's a Yud and a Mem. It's a Yud and a Mem. That generally denotes a plurality. But because of the way the sentence structure is here, the word is singular because of its the way you put it's grammatically constructed. It is singular. The word Elohim is singular when it is attached to, and as he puts it, is governed as a singular, but when it's attached to a singular verb or adjective. The first word, the second word there, bara, which is translated as created, it is singular. It is a singular word. To singular, I think it's a verb, created. It is singular. Because it is singular, the following word there is singular in its grammatic use. And as he says here, that on all references of Elohim as the God of Israel always appears in the singular grammatic use and not the plural. For it to be plural, for it to be grammatically plural, Elohim, it says taking a plural verb or adjective, as in when used with pagan divinities. Now, can you go to Psalms 96? We're going to look at Psalms 96 and Psalms 97, and we're going to see where this actually appears in the where the word El-ohim appears in the plural.
Psalms 96.
Psalms 96.
Psalms 96.
Have I lost anyone? Does anybody need me to slow down, or Scotty?
Nope, you're good. I've got some questions coming in, but they're going to be here. Let's wait till you finish presenting this.
Okay. Now we are going to see where this word El-ohim and the form of that word is found in a plurality.
And what verse in that?
In Psalms 96 and verse 5.
Okay, let me get this pulled up here.
That's one thing I like. I got me this new Tehillim not too long ago. It's interlinear. I love it because it's got the Hebrew and then the English.
Amuela asked what I believe it's what Chumash you was reading out of, or what book was you were reading out of a few minutes ago.
Which one? My ArchScroll Chumash?
Yeah. Was it that?
And I was also reading from the Hirsch Chumash. He translates the English just a wee bit different, not so much Old English. If you know what I mean by that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, verse 5. Hold on, let me find it because my letters are in Hebrew on this. Okay. On verse 5 down here, it says, for all the gods of the peoples are not. For all the gods of the peoples are not. When we come over into the Hebrew, we see.
Is that what I got highlighted there already?
Hold on. Yes, that's the form of the word El-ohim right there. It is. Let me look at here where I can see because the writing's bigger. Right here, verse 5. There's verse 5. Yeah, the gods, El-ohim. Where are we at? Yeah, for the gods, El-ohim. No, back up to the second word. Yeah, right there. For the gods, for the El-ohim. Okay, of the peoples. The next word, where it says, that one right there. That is translated of the peoples. It's Hayamim. Hayamim. This is a plural verb connected to El-ohim, which is translated here as the gods, which is the root of Elohim. In this instance, because peoples is plural, I mean, not plural. Peoples is plural. Therefore, it makes the word Elohim there in grammatic tense plural. See how where he was saying here, where where it is singular, it's a single verb or a single adjective, but where it is a plural verb or a plural adjective, the word Elohim takes on the plurality of the word it's connected to. Yes, the gods of the people. So we see here that this is the plural use of the word because it is connected to a plural verb or adjective. Now go to the next chapter in 97. In 97, verse 7. Now I'll have to go over here and find it. Right here it is. Zane. Yeah. Where it says here, all the worshipers of graven images will be ashamed. Yea, those who boast of idols, all gods prostrate yourselves before him. And where it is saying here, it says humiliated will be all who worship idols themselves. It says who pride themselves in worthless gods. In the Hebrew here, Scotty's gonna be fun to show you. I wish I could point to you. Oh, you bring your cursor back. Come. Nope. Next word, right there. Yeah. Now those last, that word and the next word. No, the word, yeah. There you go. Okay. What we have here is you have the word who prides themselves being plural because it ends with im. The word on the right, and it says, let me pronounce this right here. El-ohim. So it's another use of the word Elohim in this passage because it's connected to the plural word of themselves. It is therefore plural. It is the plural use. And like you said, and then going back to like Genesis 1 right here, Rabbi Singer says, so it is self-evident from the fact that the verb created, which is singular in Genesis 1, this linguistic pattern is well known and widely used throughout all of the Hebrew scriptures. Wherever Elohim is used, it is singular when it is connected to a singular word. It is plural when it is connected to a plural word in the grammatic tense. So in Genesis 1:1, the argument is that there's more than one God, there's a Godhead, that there's multiple gods going on here is incorrect when you understand the Hebrew. When you someone who doesn't have an education in the Hebrew, and I'm not saying I have one, I have a itsy bitsy one compared to a lot of folks, but when you begin learning the grammatical tense of the way Hebrew is laid out, it dispels a lot of arguments that are made from translation. And someone who picks up like I did in the past, a Strong's Concordance, you learn a little bit. Oh, this is what this means. I put my foot in my mouth a lot. When I started learning Hebrew, I'm like, ooh, boy. Someone who actually knew the language probably thought I was an idiot. Because some of the things I used to say about certain words and trying to explain them from a non-Torah religious English worldview. From a non-Torah, religious English worldview. We can stop right there for a second because it's going to go into some other words here in a minute. So if we want to continue, Scotty, you said you had some questions.
So, dealing with the subject you're talking about right now, the interpretation and the deliverance that you're giving on this interpretation is how it's been from the beginning of this writing. Are we correct on that?
On Torah? Yes. The Hebrews never knew, it never existed as, it wasn't even brought up that this was a plurality until the Western religion started changing things around.
So in looking at that,
and also you can look at the fact here too that even before the written Torah, when Moses was given everything to be written down, in the lives of Noah, in the lives of Abraham, they never even equated to God in any plural form.
In looking at that, we now understand and know, in the walk we're doing now, we know that there is one God. But in that presentation, in that presence, so I'm going to ask this, not meaning a plurality in gods or plurality in Godhead, but a plurality in the works of God, a plurality in the powers that God administrates I'm trying to choose my words wisely here,
Right.
places into place again, like the power of the sun. The sun has power. The sun has the ability to warm. The sun has the ability to draw the plants up out of the ground. But that sun, the power the sun has, cannot exist of itself.
Yeah, it didn't come from itself.
Okay, so kind of go into that depth a little more.
Okay, I'm gonna drop down here to another part of this letter that he wrote in answering this gentleman. Rabbi Singer says there is a fundamental principle regarding the many names of the Almighty.
Okay,
that
yes,
appear in the Torah. They are all exalted descriptions of the God of Israel. The many names of Israel. Rabbi Singer says they're all exalted descriptions of the God of Israel. The name El-ohim, which is not an exception to the rule, comes from the Hebrew word, as we see it written, is El, but it's actually pronounced El. It's pronounced with a long A sign, or A sound. El, which means might or power. So remember, we learned here a few weeks ago, and when we was doing our studies in our book, that we learned that the word of El-ohim could technically be translated as power. When we were talking about the passage where it says the God, or the power, the source, he is the power, the source of all life, of everything. This common root appears in a variety of words throughout the Hebrew scriptures. For example, we find that the word is used in a famous opening of Psalms 29. I believe that's verse 1. 29:1, where it says, render unto Hashem, you sons of the power. Where it's in the Hebrew, it says, Havu la'Adonai b'nei Elim. This chapter is well known. It's a well-known psalm that is sung actually in all the synagogues when the Torah is being returned to the ark. Let's see here. With these passages in mind, and we're getting to I'm getting to answer this because this is going along with what you just asked. With these passages in mind, Rabbi Singer says, we have a deeper understanding of the name of El-ohim. In the pagan foreign mind, foreign from the Hebrew language, foreign from the Torah, which we all were foreign. We didn't grow up with this. The foreign mind ascribes a separate and distinct God for each of the powers in the world which it observed and on whom it depended. Like you were saying, some worship the sun because of this, the wind, the rain, and different things. Says the nations gazed upon the life-giving, perplexing energy emanating from the sun and the rain. They worshiped the many gods who they believed controlled these forces. They craved an abundant harvest. They craved an abundant harvest and boundless fertility, and they venerated each god who they believed governed each of these abodes. The ancients were mystified by the powers which sustained them, and was awestruck by the forces which terrified them, and venerated each with elaborate rituals and oftentimes gruesome rituals in order to appease these gods. The Torah conveys a radically different message for mankind. All life-sustaining forces in the universe, all power that can behold, emanate from the one master of the world. All the life-sustaining forces in the universe, all the power that man can behold, emanate from the one master of the world, the one creator of the universe. This grand message is contained in the name of God, El-ohim. Talking about all these powers. All the forces of the world emerged from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Therefore, the God of Israel alone, El-ohim, is worthy of our worship and devotion. I want to go back to Isaiah chapter 45 that we were at last week.
Okay.
Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. In Isaiah 45, verse 7, he says, I am the one who forms light and creates darkness, who makes peace and creates evil. I am Hashem, maker of all of these. Contained with forms life, creates darkness, makes peace, and creates evil, pretty much is, in one way, talking about like all the powers that are, all the powers of light, all the powers of darkness, all the powers of peace, all the powers of evil, all emanate and come from the one God of Israel. He says he does all of that. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. Well, this is going to get a little hairy.
Let me. I'm going to.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to add this one other thing here, because we have moved on. There are still religions in the world that still worship, the powers of nature in some form or fashion. They're not as dominant as they once were. But also in this world today, we have those who talk about and ascribe a separate, like they had like the gods of the sun, the gods of the rain, the gods of the winds, the god of darkness, and the gods of the waters. You had Poseidon and all of them, and Odin and Thor, and
that was here since the days of Egypt. Didn't Egypt have?
Rome. Well, they all had different names. The god of dark. I guess what you want to say here. Rome and Greece had multiple gods, which is covered over, but they had all the same gods. It was just the different. It's like the different countries had, or different languages had their own names for them. But they were a lot of similarities. But you also have a separation of gods in a spiritual realm, and not just in the physical realm of waters and all these different gods governing the nature, the physical nature things that goes on earth. You have some who have these. They have a God of salvation, a God of justice, a God of power, and a God of evil, all in the spiritual realm, all separate gods. It's a carryover from all the gods that's in the physical realm. Still a separation and a multiplicity of that. Go ahead, Scotty.
So, polytheism is the worship of many.
Yeah, that's poly meaning many.
Yeah. So, but now this was actually even taking place in the days when Moses and the children of Israel was in Egypt. They had a god for the Nile, all these different gods.
All the plagues was demonstrations that the God of Israel had powers over the gods of Egypt. All the plague, everything that's in the plagues was the gods of Egypt, the different gods.
Yeah, so that's been here the whole time. But it's a reality to come to the understanding that there is only one God, and that, like you read, if there is something else that seems or deems to have power, that power is given by God. God
is given by Him,
it. And there was a reason God created that.
There's a reason. Just like in Leviticus with Israel, when God forbade them to practice, magic and sorcery and all those things that's mentioned there. I mean, there's a reason why he says don't do it, because it was real. They're real powers.
Can you jump over and find the text in Deuteronomy where it says, I am testing you, saith the Lord?
That's Deuteronomy 13.
Deuteronomy 13. Because it shows there that God sometimes places these.
Well, he's talking about prophets there, but it can be, you can take the principle from that. That's Deuteronomy 4:8.
Where's the theology? What's it, the three come into it? You're talking about muting or a double. So where's the what's the word? Christianity, right? Theology.
Well,
That's just go ahead, Scotty.
Well, I understand your question, but it really doesn't come into it, Warwick, because those are superimposed into the text. I don't want to get too deep into that, but where Terry is coming from is there is a polarity in God's name that offers powers, but there is no more deities.
Right. His powers, his powers in essence is, that's where, you hear the sages talk about God being unified. He's unified within himself with all of his powers, all of his attributes.
I'm not agreeing with that. I can't see that. I can't agree with you what you're saying, Jerry. Honestly, I can't even see what you're saying, because God's one. He's one.
Yeah. No, the Creator is one, but he's got, some people separate his powers from his oneness.
I can't see that, mate. I honestly, mate, I don't know where you're coming from today, mate.
Right.
Honestly,
but where Scotty was asking about is dealing again with the prophets, the false prophets, but we can see different principles even in this, where he says, that I'll just start. He says, if there should stand before you in the midst of prophet or dreamer of dreams, and he will produce a sign to you or a wonder, and the sign or wonder comes about of which he spoke of you, let us go and follow gods of others. See, these powers are to misdirect you to follow other gods. He's wanting you to follow other gods that you did not know. See, Israel did not know them. They only know the one true God. This issue of El-ohim being plural wasn't a thing for Israel. That you did not know, and we shall worship them. It said, do not hearken unto the words of this prophet or dreamer of dreams. It says, for Hashem your God is testing you to know whether you love Hashem your God. He allowed these prophets to come about to try to test Israel, to lead them away, to see, it's just a test to see where they were at. Anything else, Scotty?
No. So Will's brought up a question, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. We're kind of discussing it over here. So you're talking to us. You're not just talking to us in the Zoom room, because some people would say, "Well, Terry's just preaching to the choir." That was the question to come in. But in essence, you're not. We're teaching to all those that's listening. We got people on Power Faith Radio. We got people on the YouTube channels everywhere that's listening. Some will be listening to this in the future.
And a lot of our questions comes from the radio.
Yeah. But the point I want to get across here is we do not know the full effect of presenting this information on this video this night. There may be somebody years down the road who is in a question mode, who is trying to understand, comes across this video, and suddenly they have gained, the knowledge is presented. That's what they were looking for.
Right. Yeah. The reason I went the direction I wanted to go in an educational direction based on the use of words and syntax and grammar within the Hebrew and how it works. because we all did not grow up with the Hebrew language.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to share, those who are a lot smarter than I am in English, that can sit down and, write a doctoral thesis, that I couldn't even come close to. They've learned how to properly use certain words attached to other words, forming sentences to make. I mean, my eldest daughter has her master's in marketing. She's 4 years away from her doctorate. And I've read some of the stuff that she's had to write, and she works for an international marketing company now, and she helps out a lot with social medias and also help out with other marketing issues with different companies. She's worked with fertility companies in Canada, was her first client, where she was their marketing director for 6 months after they lost theirs. And so I've read, when I've had her help me, like with my resume and certain things, I would send her things, and she would send me back. She goes, here's 3 sentences that are saying the exact same thing. And I would have never have come up with those words to say what I was saying, because she knows how to use the English language in a real higher educational proper way. It's the only way I know how to do it. I'm Southeast Tennessee in here, like Scotty says, he's Townsend.
Yeah.
And so when I started learning about the Hebrew and learning this stuff here, I brought this tonight, not as a religious teaching, but more as a proper grammatical Hebrew teaching, because of the lack of the knowledge of the language from religious peoples have misinterpreted these words when they've learned just a little bit of Hebrew, mostly on their own, and not from proper teachers who was born and raised with this on their tongue, where English is their second language, not their first. And so that's really the essence of tonight's on that word, was more educational in its grammatic and linguistic. I'm going to say linguistic way, I guess would be probably a better word, linguistic.
Yeah. And if I can just add, Terry, that this information is, and because somebody on Power Faith Radio just asked this question, this information that is presented here tonight wasn't just found saying, oh yeah, that's what it means. No, this was the original. This is what was here, the whole time. And sometimes we have to move the manipulation of the text. We have to remove that out of the I in order to get down to this original form of the text, that this was what was here the whole time. The Jewish people always had this original understanding. They've always
had, I just had an analogy just come to my mind.
Okay, put it out.
I'm a guy. I mean, car parts. Think about this. You can take a brand new 24, whether it be Lexus, Dodge, Mercedes, whatever you want, internal combustion engine with all the fancy doodads that we have on these engines now. But they all have one basic principle that goes back to the first internal combustion engine that has never changed. You have to have compression. It takes a spark with the gas that drives that piston down, and it comes up. That simple movement has never changed in the internal combustion engine. And so the same thing with Hebrew, this stuff, we may have all this technology around us today. We're better. A lot of people now can speak, way multiple languages and different cultures, and we have all these extras that's added on to life. But when you come to the Hebrew and you go back down to the nuts and the bolts, just like an internal combustion engine, it hasn't changed. What's changed was us. We've come upon this. We've looked upon the world, and we're coming from these different world views. But when you take it back down to its very essence, it hasn't changed. The Creator says, I have not changed. He said, I've not changed. And that's what we're learning here tonight. It's always been there, and it's there. You can set out and you can get your book on biblical Hebrew or and sit down and start learning grammatic text and how verbs and adjectives and all of that stuff works, and you'll start seeing this on your own. Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay, on YouTube, a question: does El-ohim, and this is a good question because I can see how this would be maybe seen this way. Does El-ohim include Hashem and his angels?
The word Elohim.
Can I say as in let us make man in our image?
Okay.
But Elohim doesn't have anything to do.
I know that it's 9:07. Can we go over a wee bit?
Yeah.
Has everybody got time? Just let me know. And my wee bit might be a little bit bigger than somebody else's wee bit.
You got a wee bit.
I've got a wee. Scotty's wanting to go get his pillow. I understand. That's the reason why I asked.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
He knew. You should have known better when you asked that question.
I'm just relaying it. It was a question asked over in YouTube.
All right. This is another one of the passages is misunderstood through misinterpretation. And I know where the person asking that question is coming from. I wasn't going to discuss that part of it tonight. Where it's talking about the angels. There is that part where the Creator included the angelic realm in this. But the direction I'm going tonight is with and I'm not skipping that aspect. It's just a little more deeper. I was wanting to stay kind of with the basics and easy understanding for everyone.
Before you jump in that, Terry, can I just say, and you can say this is a true question or a false question, or false statement, but the position of the name Elohim does not mean Hashem and the angels together.
No.
Okay. I just want to clarify
that his name, like I said, it represents the power of God, but in that attribute of God is also is the attribute that established law. And law, and when I say law, it's not just the stop sign; it's the one established law. The laws, what we call the laws of nature, the laws of physics, everything that causes the creation in itself, physical or spiritual. There are laws that govern that. There's laws that keeps the earth at a certain tilt. There are laws that keeps the earth away from the sun at certain distances. Then there's laws that govern man's activities. And it's that name that established law, order, ethics, and morals.
Now, when you read a few minutes ago about that the Creator, Hashem, made Moses, is that word Elohim to Pharaoh?
Well, it's the form of Elohim. It's
okay.
I can't pronounce it right now without looking at it.
Angels also had that.
Angels were called Elohim because they are judges. Men are even called Elohim.
Singular. You're talking about singular? Singular?
Yes. It's in the nature of it.
Yeah, in the nature of it.
In the nature of it. Now on to your question in Genesis chapter 126. And God said, let us make man. Okay. The us here in the English has messed a lot of people up. And they're trying to understand, and they see that God says, well, let us, meaning, well, there's more than one. There is a teaching from the Torah where the us is explained that the Creator is conferring with the council of angels. And there's passages that all bring that out, but that's not where I was going to go tonight. We can do that at another time. But this right here is for me, when I heard a rabbi in Atlanta speak on this, it's just like one of those, the light bulb goes off like, wow. And because it's right here in the text. And I'm using the article from the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, in his explanation in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and God said, let us make man. The Ramban says, a separate utterance was devoted to the making of man. He was not created with the animals because of his exalted status. Now, going back in verse 22 where he says, hold on here. I had this. Actually, let me just go on back here. Bring it all in context. Actually, let me do my homage because there's so much that's written here in the Ramban that it's easier to read it out of the Humish, the actual text. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Genesis chapter 1. And yeah, the fifth day. I want to go over here to the fifth day in verse 20. It says, and God said, let the waters teem with teeming living creatures and the fowl that fly, and the fowl that fly above and over living over the earth across the expanses in the heavens. And God created the great sea creature or sea giants and every living being that creeps within the waters, teemed after their kind, and the winged fowl after every kind. And God saw that it was good. Verse 22, and God blessed him, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the sea. But the fowl shall increase on the earth. And they was even, it says, and there was even evening and there was morning the fifth day. Now the sixth day, God said, let us bring forth living creatures, each according to its kind and its animals and creeping things, and the beasts of the land, each according to their kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth and according to all of its kind, and the animals according to its kind, and every creeping being of the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Verse 26, and God said, this is what the Rambam was saying here. There was a separate utterance devoted to the making of man. And he was not created together with the animals because of his exalted status. For his nature is not like the nature of the beasts and the animals that God had created with the preceding utterance. And he says, for you have already been shown in order to know that God created something out of nothing on the first day, where he was talking about what we've discussed a few weeks ago, where he created something from nothing. And after this, he formed and he made all things. He created something from nothing in the first day. There was the word barad there represents the creation of something from nothing. After that, he formed and made. He created all the ingredients. Then he began to make the dough from that which was already created. From those elements that were created from nothing on the first day. Thus, just as when God gave to the water the capacity to bring forth living souls, get this, he gave the water capacity to bring forth living souls. The utterance directed toward them was, let the waters bring forth. Just as the utterance regarding animals. He said, let the earth bring forth. Now he comes to man. He said, concerning man, let us make. Let us make. So back in the text, if you start in verse, was it 20? Verse 20, and you come forward about the waters. Let the waters teem with living creation. Let them bring forth. Verse 24, let the earth bring forth. 26. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. He said concerning man, let us make, meaning I, Hashem, together with the aforementioned earth, will make man. By this he meant that the earth should bring forth man's body from its elements, as it did for the animals and the beast. And then Hashem God formed man of the dust of the ground, while he, blessed be he, would supply the spirit from the mouth of the Supreme One, and he blew into his nostrils the soul of life. Therefore, the earth partnered, or God partnered with the earth in making man. The us is Hashem and the earth. Us. Make man in our image. Man is in the image of the earth, of the beast, and he's also created in the image of God through our soul, through our spirit, through our free will that he gives us. This is the us in let us make man. God partnered with the earth in our creation. He did not do that with any other piece of creation. He did not partner with anyone else in making something. The only partner that the Creator has in this instance is the earth, and the earth is not a God. It's not a plurality. It is the oneness of God who created and made everything out of nothing. Then he took the elements that was there. He formed everything. And then when he got done, he was in the earth. The water shall bring forth, the animals, and the earth, or the sea creatures, and then the earth shall bring forth the beast. Then he says, now let us. Come on, let us together make man in our image. And therefore, man was formed of dirt and breathed on by God. And that is the us. And let us make man.
And if I can add to that, Terry, we've talked about this position, and I've heard a couple of teachings on it. And of course, I can't quote to you those teachings, but the whole plan of Hashem was to make man. This was not an afterthought after he created everything on the earth. It was all a plan for us to be created. We are the ones that needed the oxygen. We are the ones that needed the herb yielding plants. We are the one that needed the water. We are the one that needed that. And once he got all that in position, all that came together.
Well, if you think about it, if he had made man first, where would he live?
Yeah.
He built the house first and then brought man into the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Terry.
Because it's interesting, because in the very first word, Bereshit, you have the word bait is there from the very first letter, bait, which is the Hebrew word for house.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's why man was created last, because God created everything that man needed. Remember in Genesis chapter 9, where the creator was talking to Noah, and he gave man the permission to eat meat, and he says, as I have given you all the herbs of the field, now everything that creeps upon the earth shall be food for you. I have given you everything.
Yeah.
So that's another whole teaching there.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Terry,
Scotty, I tried to keep it to a wee bit. Is that okay? I mean,
Good.
real quick, is there anything that from
No.
that last section?
No, I think we've covered that. But now next, I do have some carryover questions about next week. I would like us to go into the metaphoric understanding of the Creator.
Okay.
So
Now people want to get deep.
Because he's described as having a body, but he says in several places, well, not several, but a couple of, in fact, he told Moses, you did not see a form.
So we'll discuss about that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to bring us to a close, Terry.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for joining in and staying along with us.
Yeah. Those of you that's been hanging around on Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much for coming this way and spending this time with us. Those of you that have been watching from the two Facebook pages, A Simple Walk or B'nai Noach Fellowship, or maybe you're watching this recording in the future. We thank you so much to all of you for spending time with us. Of course, it's sponsored by Outreach Noah. You can find us at Outreach Noah on YouTube channel. And you can email us, send an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Go visit our website at outreachnoah.com. All right. Now, I just want to say one more thing about Veronica. She's going to be in Texas next. Is that next week, Veronica? Something with similar next week?
Mostly for March. Mostly
March. So if you live in Texas, you're would like to meet Veronica and get a signed copy of her book, or maybe you can order the book and bring it down to her and let her sign it. That's what she's doing. I call it a book tour. So if you've got a book and want to meet her, she can sign that book, put her Veronica port inside of it, and so there you go.
You know what? I forgot to bring my copy over to the restaurant that night, so I could have got Veronica to sign it. I can't believe that.
Well, here's the crazy
Only
thing.
a precious few have got my signature.
Well, now I feel left out.
Here's the crazy thing, Terry. She gave me a book to give to you because she thought I would see you before she did, and she saw you 3 days later.
And we still hadn't. You're going to have to come down to the chicken house.
Got to come to chicken house. Everybody, I'm just going to say short and sweet. We'll see you next week.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Those.